Hi, everyone. Heather here with astrologywithheather.com, and I'm back with another super exciting extended forecast. And this one is for Jupiter's re entry into the enthusiastic sign of Aries. And I'm super excited for this forecast because I have a special guest with me to help me out, Zoe Cardiff, who is a professional astrologer, a full time consulting astrologer, actually, who's very busy and super booked up with clients. Everybody loves her work. She's also a graduate of the Cosmic Academy of Astrology, which is our comprehensive astrology program that takes you from struggling to put all the pieces together to learning to give meaningful, accurate astrology readings and making predictions with confidence. You can find information about that down below. But as for Zoe, she is a professional astrologer. She works as an affiliate for astrology.com. She has a super popular TikTok with over 100,000 followers, and her astrological insight has even been featured in Rolling Stone magazine online. Welcome, Zoe. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
I'm super excited to have you here as well. And so, for people who are a little less familiar with your work, if you could just give us a little bit of a background of how you even got into astrology and what your practice is like.
Sure. So I've been intrigued by astrology from a very young age. My mom had like the big book of birthdays when I was a kid. So I remember reading about my birthday and being so fascinated because it's based on astrology, that book. So being so fascinated by just the interpretation and how the stars could dictate someone's personality. So it was always sort of like an intense hobby of mine because as a Scorpio rising, anything that allows me to get to know myself and other people at a deeper level, I'm like, I want more and more and more. But I believe that astrology found me when Uranus was conjunct my sun. My life, the level of restlessness that I found that I was experiencing in my life was so profound. And I was interested in astrology, but not that deeply. And I wanted to know what was happening in my life because I changed my job. I broke up with my boyfriend. I'm like, what is going on? So that's when I started really studying astrology. And I believe that it found me. And again, it was just something I did for my friends until 2020, when things, shut down. And I decided maybe I could do it as a business. I never would have thought in my whole life that this could be something that I could do for work, but I started doing it. I loved it. And yeah, that's how I started Triple Goddess Astrology in 2020.
Oh, that's wonderful. And we're so glad that you did.
Yeah. The big thing for me was when I did the Cosmic Academy. That was like my longest course and the most intense. And it really refined my knowledge and gave me a lot of courage and confidence.
Oh, good. Well, that makes me
Yeah,
super happy. So
sure.
thank you. And you are obviously a very wonderful student, and I'm super excited that you're back and that you're here with us today. And we're talking about Jupiter in the sign of Aries and its transit through Aries. It's moving back on what is it, December 20th of this year, and it's going to be there all the way through until May. And so Zoe has actually prepared a presentation, and we're actually going to go through and do a forecast for all 12 signs together today. So without like further ado, I'm going to pull up the presentation and so we can get started.
Okay.
All right. So here it is.
Okay. All right, cool. So yeah, today, as Heather said, we're going to talk about Jupiter's final pass into Aries, December 20th, 2022, all the way through until May 17th of 2023. It's a really beautiful transit.
Oop.
Okay.
That's weird. Oh, there we go.
Okay, so Jupiter was in Aries previously from May 11th of this year until October 28th of 2022. And the good thing to do, or a way to understand how this reemergence or reentrance into Aries will affect you, is to look back on that time period. What was initiated? What was in the early stages of becoming in your life at that time? Because Jupiter's reentrance into Aries will expand on those themes. Astrology is the study of cycles, so the best way to understand how a current transit is going to affect you is to look back at the last time that it occurred. The themes will be similar, but the details, the themes will be similar. The details might be a little bit different, but you can kind of get a good idea. And actually before that, Jupiter was in Aries from June of 2010 to June of 2011, because it takes 12 years to transit the whole Zodiac, spending 1 year in each sign. So if you want to go even deeper, you can look to see what was going on in your life around that time. And the next time Jupiter is going to be in Aries isn't until April of 2034. So definitely take advantage of this like hopeful and fortunate energy now.
Yeah. And maybe like keep a little journal. So in 2034, you can go back and remember what was expanded on during this time.
Definitely. When I started studying astrology, that I every time I not every transit, but like a significant one, I'll write them down, because it helps a lot the next time something like that happens, and you can sort of intuit or expect a bit what's coming up for you.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, that's even one of the assignments, if you remember back from the
Yes.
academy. When
Hmm.
we get into transits, I have everybody track their transits and write down just little blurbs every day about like what's going on during that time, because that really is the best way, not only to learn about yourself and the way that these repeating cycles will come back, but to learn about transits in general, like through your own direct experience. So, yeah, I love that advice. Okay.
Okay, so let's get a little deeper even. So during Jupiter's previous transit into Aries, a lot of us could have started new projects, new initiatives in that Aries ruled area of your life. And we'll get into that in a more detailed way when we do the forecast for all 12 signs. But we could have felt very lit up, inspired, motivated. Jupiter in Aries is a very assertive and confident energy. It's straightforward. Yeah, so very motivated. And during this time from May to October, Jupiter only moved through 8 degrees of Aries. So the positive for this time around is that if you have your ascendant or your midheaven in Aries at a degree past 8 degrees, Jupiter did not aspect that area of your chart last time, but it will this time. And if you have planets in your in Aries past 8 degrees, this time around Jupiter will aspect those planets and points, which is very positive and very beneficial. So yeah, then Jupiter moved retrograde into Pisces from October 28th until December 20th. So we have about 3 more weeks of this transit. And this is a nice transit too. I mean, Jupiter rules Pisces. It loves to be there. And Jupiter's move into Pisces allows us to expand our vision for the future, enhance our dreams. It's also in a conjunction with Neptune, which expands on this ability to, feel more compassionate and transcendent. And it expands this energy of oneness. It's very dreamy, but it can also, Jupiter's conjunction with Neptune could also sap our energy, brought up fear and anxiety. Neptune, the lower expression of Neptune, can be fear and anxiety, and Jupiter expands. There could have been fear around taking action. And so it is a generally positive influence and dreamy transit, but not the best for sustained drive and momentum. It's a good time to dream things up. Then with Jupiter's move back into Aries on December 20th, this will re-energize us on a very personal level to achieve our goals. And we can take what we've learned creatively, intuitively, spiritually, while Jupiter was in Pisces, co-present with Neptune, and integrate it in a very direct way when Jupiter moves into Aries. And we're going to have the vision and the motivation, the vision from Jupiter's transit of Pisces and the motivation from Jupiter's transit of Aries to really pick up where we left off and bring things full circle. And Jupiter will move through all the degrees of Aries, which, as I mentioned, is it's beneficial for people with Aries, in their chart or midheaven or ascendant in fire signs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that way that you connected that Jupiter and Pisces energy to the Jupiter and Aries and that transition from like dreams to reality or dreams to
Mm-hmm.
action. That's very much, yeah, the energy. And it's going to be, I think a lot of people are going to be really gung ho about their New Year's resolutions. Like, I
Oh
think they're
yeah,
going to be like overachieving.
for sure. Over all the overwords, overextending, overachieving.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk about Jupiter. The themes, the significations of Jupiter as a planet and what it represents. So Jupiter is the largest planet in the solar system. It has like a million moons. I would say Jupiter is the most extra planet. It's big, it's imposing. You can just imagine it like as a planet. It's huge. And so its energy is huge. And it's the planet that rules aspiration and advancement, opportunity, potential, good fortune, luck. It's a very lucky planet. And it's the teacher as well. Jupiter rules growth. It's the ruler of Pisces, which is much more having to do with internal growth, growth of the spirit, growth of the intuition. And it also rules Sagittarius, which is more focused on external growth through travel and adventure. Just to give you sort of an idea, expansion of the consciousness, Jupiter rules. It rules higher education, spiritual education, and truth. I would say Jupiter is like, it rules truth with a capital T, like God, the universe, the world around you, big concepts, that kind of truth. It rules idealism and optimism and the big picture view. And because it rules a big picture view, it rules over religion, philosophy, beliefs, theory, how we relate to the world through our beliefs. And where Jupiter, because Jupiter and Mercury both have to do with information, where Mercury gathers information, facts, figures, analytics. Jupiter knows, it's more of that like internal sense of knowing. And ancient astrologers regarded Jupiter as the great benefic, one of the most beneficial planets and responsible for a lot of some of life's greatest blessings. And we'll talk more about benefics when we get into Sect.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's exciting too, because a lot of our viewers might not understand about sex. So you guys are getting like an astrology, a mini astrology education and a forecast all in one here today with Zoe.
That's me. Oh, so I wanted to also talk about the shadow side of Jupiter because I feel like it gets glossed over, which is very Jupiterian. Just like, it's just great. But there are some pitfalls of Jupiter, and I wanted to talk about them. And so in The Changing Sky by Stephen Forrest, he has a really good quote that I wanted to mention. Stephen Forrest says, "The trap of Jupiter is the temptation to let ourselves be lulled into lassitude and foolishness while basking in the warm feelings created by overconfidence, arrogance, or still incomplete success." Oof, that really very much hits the nail on the head. Some other difficulties or shadow sides of Jupiter could be, it can create a overinflated sense of self, egotism, also as I mentioned before, all the over words, overconfidence. You can overcommit, you can overestimate your luck, you can overestimate your abilities, overeat, overdrink, oversmoke, anything. It's because it's excess. Jupiter wants it all. It's desirous of everything. And so it can, moderation is not a Jupiter keyword. And you can overpower others as well. And not really like Mars or Pluto, where that overpowering can be malicious sometimes. It's more like overpowering other people with your beliefs and a self-righteous sense of like superiority, like I'm right and you're wrong. And because you can be overly focused on your own truth and your own vision for what the truth is.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what would you say might be some of the shadow qualities of Jupiter and Aries?
So Jupiter in Aries, I think people could be very much stuck on because Aries and these sort of shadow sides of Jupiter, they're also kind of shadow sides of Aries. But like Aries can be overconfident, it can overcommit. Also, you can with Jupiter and Aries, the shadow side can be sort of fighting or arguing, really sort of trying to get your point across in a way where you can just very much steamroll others. You can burn yourself out for sure, take on too much work. Yeah, I think that those can be some things for sure.
Yeah, like in a cardinal fire sign, like just going, starting
Starting too many
pushing your
things.
will.
Right, exactly. And it's not like with malintent, it's just you can really sort of spin yourself out.
Yeah.
And then you don't get anything done. So balance is something that we should try to focus on with Jupiter and Aries for sure.
Yeah, integrating that opposition of like Libra, which is very hard to do when you have an expansion of Aries.
For sure. Also, it can be like overly impulsive or impatient, now.
Yeah.
Everyone's hitting the ground running at the same time. And so there could be conflicts from that as well.
True. Yeah, that's very true. All right. So now that you guys know the pitfalls.
Yeah. Yeah. And so just remember that Jupiter transits open up the door for increased flow and ease. But you have to work with that energy in order to get the most out of it. So the best way to do that is to figure out the themes. The house and the sign Jupiter is transiting in your chart, so you can work directly with that energy. And a little analogy, because like if Jupiter's transiting your 10th house, you can kind of sit back and relax and say, if you don't want to do anything, and just know that area of your life, career, will go more easily. There will be more fluidity. But if you really want to create success for yourself, or if there's something that you want to do, you have to actively engage with that energy. And a little analogy that I use is, I can tell you it's sunny outside, but you have to go to the beach to get a tan. You can still enjoy the sun from inside your house, the beautiful rays, but in order to really get a tan or experience the positivity, the dopamine that comes from the sun, you have to go outside, you have to take action and sort of like do it. And that's what astrology is. It's about finding the path of least resistance and aligning with it. So I hope that makes sense, but I tell that to my clients and I feel like it works.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Absolutely.
Okay, so let's now talk about Sect. I felt like it was important to bring up Sect because we're talking about Jupiter. And so Sect is an ancient astrological technique used to determine the strength of a planet. So according to the ancient Hellenistic astrologers, I believe, were the first to do this, Mars and Saturn are the two malefic planets. So they're the two planets that have the ability to create the most discord and difficulty in our lives, where Jupiter and Venus were determined to be the two benefics, meaning that they are the most beneficial and helpful planets. So there's good news and bad news. The good news is, as a person, each person only gets one malefic. So one planet that has the ability to say no to something, to say a hard no to things. But you'll also only get one benefic. And whatever planets are the most positive or detrimental in your chart depends on when you were born. So being that Jupiter is a diurnal planet, it does the best in a day chart. Diurnal means daytime. And so it works the most optimally and is most beneficially experienced in a day chart, whereas Venus is a nocturnal planet, it does the best at night. And so it functions the most optimally and is the most beneficial in a night chart. And I have a graphic to show you, but it's very easy to figure out if you have a day or a night chart. If the sun was below the ascendant-descendant line when you were born, you have a night chart, anywhere below. And if it was above, it means you have a day chart. And just for good measure, of course, in a day chart, Mars is your malefic. Mars is your most harmful planet, where Jupiter is your most positive. And in a night chart, Venus is your most positive, while Saturn is your most difficult. I mean, it doesn't mean that, transiting a night chart, Jupiter is not positive. It is still positive. It's just not as affecting or as influential as Venus, but it still benefits you.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. And if you guys are interested in learning more about sect and day and night charts and all that, I do have a video. I'll float it around somewhere in a bubble up here. So you guys can check that out afterward. But yeah, so basically Jupiter will be more positive for you even if you are born during the day.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll still be positive. Like, I have a night chart. I'm still looking forward to Venus's transit of Aries. But it's important to know about sect, so you know how to work with these planetary energies. So again, on the left is the day chart, the sun is above the horizon, and then on the right, it's a night chart, the sun is below. And that's how you tell.
Yeah, pretty straightforward. Even if you are not familiar with astrological charts, you can see that the sun is the circle with the dot in the middle,
Right.
either above that line that goes across, horizontally or below it.
Yeah.
Straightforward.
Okay, so now let's talk about Jupiter in Aries. So in astrology, the planets show what? What is Jupiter? Its growth, its expansion, its opportunity. Where the signs show how. So how will we experience that planet's energy and themes? In this case, we will experience Jupiter's expansive energy through the direct, pioneering, extroverted, confident lens of Aries. So the sign always colors how we experience the planet's energy. And so this transit can be experienced as a growth or increase of initiation. It's a cardinal fire. Jupiter's moving into a cardinal fire sign. It's forward momentum, ambitious and entrepreneurial energy, motivation, impulsivity and reactionary responses as well. Jupiter can expand these things, feisty and fiery energy. Yeah, it's a Mars-ruled sign, of course. So attack, defend, accomplish. Austin Coppock said that. I'm obsessed with him. He's the best astrologer.
Oh yeah, he's real good.
Oh, he's so good. But yeah, Aries is a Mars-ruled sign. And so Mars is about attacking and defending and accomplishing. And so there can be an expansion of that. Everybody sort of jockeying for what's theirs, which can create a lot of, success, but also some people stepping on other people's toes for sure. Conflict, an expansion of conflict, over asserting ourselves or our views, both collectively and personally. More assertion of our individuality, which can be positive, but can be overdone. And burnout, as I mentioned before, an expansion of passionate expression. So yeah, these are some of the ways that we can experience this Jupiter in Aries. The positives and the more difficult ones, of course, as well.
Yeah, full spectrum. I mean, and Jupiter in Aries isn't necessarily like the most positive placement for Jupiter, but it's not the most negative either. It's just kind of like in the middle.
Yeah.
So you're gonna get both worlds there.
For sure. So just to sum it up, while Jupiter was in Pisces, the focus was on expansion. There was an expansion of our vision, dreams, and creativity. Very sort of like nebulous and creative and internalized, where Jupiter in Aries is about definitive action, like let's get it done. While Jupiter was in Pisces, it was about release and surrender, while Jupiter in Aries is initiation and attack. Jupiter in Pisces, there's a focus on formlessness, on transcendence, compassion. Jupiter in Aries is about embodiment, momentum, and it's very pioneering energy. It's much more physical, Jupiter in Pisces, compromise and go with the flow, while Jupiter in Aries is no compromise. There's an urgency. There's an urgency in Aries that is not present in Pisces, and so we're going to have this expansion of that Aries energy. With Jupiter in Pisces, escapism and illusion, while Jupiter in Aries is facing reality and bending situations to our will. Jupiter in Pisces is receptive, while Jupiter in Aries is dominant. And the overarching theme of Jupiter in Pisces is like, what's good for the collective? What's good for the collective is good for me. Sure, I'll just go with the flow. Where Jupiter in Aries is like, no, what's in it for me? Like that's number one. Got to look out for number one. So it's a big energy shift for sure.
All right. Oh, and we're getting into the signs here. Are we ready for this?
Yay. So I did it from the rising sign. You can listen, your rising sign is what I wrote these for, because I'm also talking about house rulerships a bit. But you can definitely listen for your sun sign, because it will have an effect for sure, especially if you're using like solar houses. But for Aries rising, Jupiter is moving into your first house, which is very exciting. And it's the ruler of your ninth house and your 12th house. And we'll talk about what that means. So with Jupiter moving into Aries in your first house, the focus and the spotlight are on you. You're the star. It's very aspirational and motivating. You can also be, with Jupiter moving into your first house, sharing knowledge or wisdom, for sure, especially that you learned while Jupiter was in your 12th house. You can take on a teaching role as well, be something, even whether it's in like a professional setting, or maybe like within your friend, like friends could come to you for wisdom and advice. You'd be seen as someone who sort of like has a good way of looking at things, you know, more so now than usual, right? Taking on a teaching role, utilizing what you've learned spiritually, and utilizing what you learned spiritually while Jupiter was in your 12th, in a very direct way in relationships, at home, at your job. It's a time of increased self-assertion, self-confidence, self-assuredness. While Jupiter was in your 12th house, it was a little bit like, it was very reflective and internalized, and perhaps you were doing some work on yourself, like educating yourself about, you know, doing trauma work or things like that, just like internal stuff. And now it's like, okay, well, I'm going to take what I learned and move along in my life. You're desirous of everything. You're driven towards your goals. That gives you enhanced momentum. And with Jupiter in an angular house, you can, the ascendant, it's going to aspect your ascendant at some point. You can be initiating new projects, expanding on what you started, perhaps what was started or seeded from May to October. I've also found that when Jupiter, especially when Jupiter hits your ascendant, if you want to try to find that, like when that's going to be, important introductions can be made. That seems to be a theme. I met my boyfriend the day Jupiter hit my ascendant. Not always, of course, but it can be something. And since it's in Aries, this can be, you can initiate important introductions as well. You know, you can kind of time it for when Jupiter is going to be conjunct your ascendant if you want to make like, you know, a new connection, new relationship, career, and new creation, relationship, career, and home life dynamics initiated and brought forth, informed by what you learned, you know, while Jupiter was in your 12th, and also you just sort of like making a lot of, taking definitive action to make changes in your life in these areas. And becoming necessarily selfish as well, I would say.
Necessarily selfish.
Yeah.
I feel like that's music to an Aries ears.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's good to be selfish right now. No, not that saying that Aries are selfish, but you can get what you want.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, and so for Taurus rising, Taurus sun, Jupiter's moving into your 12th house of solitude and seclusion, rest, relaxation, and it is the ruler of your 11th and your 8th houses. So with Jupiter moving into your 12th house, it's very different from what Aries rising is experiencing, because you are now going to be expanding upon your spiritual connection and your wisdom, self-exploration, internal reflection. You could, you really will need, with Jupiter moving into your 12th house, to designate time for self-care. And I don't mean that in like a corny way. I mean like creating a balance in your life, you know, journaling, spending time alone. You're going to need more time alone, and you have to, or my suggestion would be to really prioritize that, because if not, you'll feel a little bit burnt out and all over the place. The 12th house rules rest and regeneration and transcendence. And so being alone, you can really connect with yourself a bit more. It's time to take a break from the daily grind. Prioritizing self-care practices for sure. You can also do a lot of work. The 12th house rules dissolution, shedding, surrender. And so anything, and the 12th house also rules that which is hidden from our view. But with Jupiter sort of expanding here, you can, things can come up for you that maybe you thought you had gotten over, or, you know, difficulties that you need to do some more work on, and you're supported in this, you know, for sure. Deeply held traumas and fears that hold you back from getting what you want and for what you need, you can really sort of do some work around that. And because Jupiter is the ruler of your 8th house, it's moving into your 12th house. Both of these houses are associated with deep inner healing, you know, so you are definitely supported here as well. I would also say you could think about, number one, you're going to want to keep your circle smaller. You're not going to be want to be out with like everyone just disappearing into a large group. But you can also sort of like rethink your friendships and the people that you associate with. Perhaps there are friends or groups of people that you've been associating with that just don't align anymore, you know? So reflecting on that, that could be something that comes up for you as well. You could re-engage or become really interested in tarot, magic, astrology, all forms of healing, alternative healing, I would say. Taking charge of your beliefs and your story could be something too. Prioritizing time with close friends, even a spiritual or healing community, because Jupiter rules your 11th house of friendship and group connection. It's going to be in the 12th house of spirituality. This could also be like in person or online. Solo travel to a secluded place or travel with a close friend could be something, something to plan, something to think about. I would say even like a spiritual retreat or a trip that is spiritual for you, you know, that will feel spiritual to you. And this is a preparation, Taurus Rising, for when you're doing sort of all this like internal work and you know yourself a little, you know, a lot better, I would say, in preparation for when Jupiter goes into Taurus and moves into your first house for a full year. So it's like, what do you need as nourishment to prepare for that transit? You know, what needs to be shed and released and let go of? So now is like your behind the scenes work, I would say.
All right. And then Gemini.
So for Gemini, Jupiter is moving into your 11th house, and it's the ruler of your 10th and your 10th house of career, your 7th house of partnership. So with Jupiter moving into your 11th house, this is expanding on your connection to friends, groups, your networks for business or pleasure. Being that Jupiter is the ruler of your 10th house, you could definitely like get business opportunities through your friends or through your network. Benefiting from your connections to other people, signing new contracts, new agreements. It's very social, and you can benefit career-wise from your social connections, networking, marketing, communications, these sorts of things. At some point, Jupiter will trine your descendant, which is a power point in the chart that is in the 7th house. It has to do with committed relationship, one-on-one client work, and contracts and agreements. And so if you want to sign something important, you could do it around that time. It's a great time to enter any partnership, really, or make something official. You could increase or expand your presence on social media for business or for pleasure. You could feel like you're ready to be seen a little bit more, or to put yourself out there a little bit more. You could carry out creative ideas that were seeded while Jupiter was in your 10th house in Pisces. You could sort of have the motivation to start projects or to finish projects. You could spearhead an exciting creative project. You could also meet, if you're wanting to date, you know, you could meet a romantic partner at a social gathering or through a friend, or start dating a friend maybe. Also meeting someone online could be something, if that's something you feel, you know, comfortable with. You're just going to be feeling much more social and entering into a lot of new exciting partnerships. And so staying open to new relationships, I think, would be something that you should do. Friends could be seeking you out for your wisdom for sure, traveling with a friend or a group, or planning a trip. And just trying not to overcommit socially, because you're going to feel sort of like you're ready to do all of these things, or to overpower others, like with your beliefs. That could be a pitfall as well. But it's a generally really nice transit, I would say. You can get a lot done with this transit.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. And then Cancer.
Okay, so for Cancer rising, Jupiter's moving into your 10th house of career. It's the ruler of your 6th house of daily work, experience in your 9th house of education. This creates, on its face, increased drive and passion at work, and also an expansion of opportunities at work within your career. You could be recognized for work well done by superiors or higher ups. While Jupiter was in Pisces in your 9th house, you could have learned something new or perfected your craft in some way. And now you can really take these skills and utilize them in a direct way for growth and ascension at your job. And you can be like seen, because the 10th house is the most public area of the chart. It's with Jupiter there, like people are seeing you in a positive light, which very much benefits you in that area. You could take on a teaching or a training role at work. This would be a great time to hire help if you like own your own business. Because Jupiter rules your 6th house, employees and coworkers. Also, you could just get along better with your coworkers. Yeah, I think that could be something as well. You're being seen in a more positive light. Yes, you could publish something or share your talents with a wider audience, because Jupiter rules your 9th house of publishing. It's in the 10th house of career, people seeing what you're doing. Feeling more self-motivated and vital. At some point, Jupiter will conjunct your midheaven. And so you can find that, because something good can come around that time regarding your career, regarding, you know, work, or how you're seen in some way, like something definitive, something that you recognize. With Jupiter and Pisces, you could have learned new ways to engage with. Yeah, it's about engaging with your work-life balance, really allowing yourself to have that balance. And perhaps you learned about like what you could do and when you were doing too much, you know, while Jupiter was in Pisces, and now you can really sort of like put that into practice, you know, because Jupiter in the 10th, you can definitely sort of overextend yourself when it comes to work, but hopefully you learned what how to create a little bit more balance, and you can utilize that now with Jupiter in the 10th house.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you've seen this in like your work with clients, but Jupiter in the 10th house tends to be when people like really put themselves out there for like their career, or they have a lot. It's like the most physically manifested Jupiter for some reason when those
Yeah.
transits occur.
Yeah, I think so. And that's why I always tell people to figure out exactly when Jupiter will conjunct their midheaven, because that
Yeah.
can be like a, you know, something that the work that you've been doing pops, or an important meeting, an important work meeting, something physical and tangible, or, you know, expansion occurs around that time. But yeah, I totally agree with you.
Well, there you go, Cancer. You can look forward to that.
Oh, okay. Okay, for Leo rising, Jupiter's moving into your ninth house, which is the house of education, travel, expansion of consciousness. And it's the ruler of your fifth house of hobbies and interests, and your eighth house of joint resources, and much, much more. So with Jupiter moving into your ninth house, it highlights exploration, education, experiential knowledge. The ninth house is expanding your consciousness through new experience, whether it be through education, through going somewhere you've never been before. But with Jupiter moving into your ninth, there's this need or this feeling that you want to expand. You want to try new things. You want to go somewhere you've never been. You want to learn something that, you know, has piqued your interest a little bit, but you want to expand on that and expand your perspective with Jupiter in the ninth house. Well, Jupiter was in your eighth house in Pisces for the last few months. The eighth house rules deep inner healing. It rules shadow work and trauma work. It's a deep and intense energy. It's more internalized for sure. Now you can sort of come up for air and feel like you're able to utilize what you've learned down in your depths, and utilize it in your day-to-day life. Take chances, take risks, you know, use this in increased confidence. And like the need, not the risk taking, you know, these trying new things with Jupiter in the ninth house. It's like, take advantage of that. You know, you just learned a lot about yourself. You deserve it. You could re-engage or engage in educational pursuits, learn something brand new. Again, this could be a transit that could see you take on a teaching role in some way. Spiritual study as a hobby or pastime, because Jupiter rules your fifth house of hobbies. It's moving into your ninth house of education. So that could be something that you really want to devour, you know, spiritual books, even like religion, you know, if that's something that you're into. And also just intentionally making space for joy, because the fifth house is the house of joy, and experiencing joy through travel and educating yourself, engaging your interests, spirituality, philosophy, theory, politics. You could also be very much wanting to like debate and talk to other people about their beliefs. It's a social energy in that way. Feeling very fired up to engage your inner child, or engage with your children, going on a trip with your children, or, you know, traveling abroad with a friend or something like that, or by yourself. I'm a big proponent of solo travel, but you're wanting to expand in that way. And perhaps if you have kids, you know, you could take a trip with them. Publishing a book or blog or zine or a Tumblr or something, you know, wanting to get your ideas out into like a larger audience. The eighth house does rule collaborations, and so you can more easily seek out and find people who want to support and collaborate or invest with you and in you in some way. And Jupiter will trine your ascendant at some point. And this is a great, I love the ninth house is a benefic house, because planets that are in it or transiting it will trine the ascendant. And it's a sign-based trine the entire time. When we have Jupiter in the ninth house in a trine to the ascendant, we feel lit up, inspired, motivated. You have more energy. And at the exact time that Jupiter trines your ascendant, it would be a great time to initiate something you feel really excited about, whether it be a trip, a creative project, and really anything. So this is another really nice transit.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the nicer placements for Jupiter for any
Sure.
planet.
Then we have Virgo rising. Jupiter's moving into your eighth house. It's the ruler of your fourth house of home and family, and the seventh house of partnership. So with Jupiter moving into your eighth house, it expands on your knowledge. It expands on your need to engage, or desire to engage in alternative forms of healing, astrology, anything occult. And I don't mean occult in a scary way. I just mean unconventional forms of connection could be something that like piques your interest a little bit more, and healing via these avenues. And this is a time to go within and to work on underlying fears, traumas. Relationship trauma I find is found a lot, or held a lot in the eighth house. Also issues or trauma regarding money, worth, and things like that. relationship or childhood trauma, as Jupiter rules your fourth house of home and family. So really anything that you haven't been wanting to deal with, it could come into a greater focus, and you could very much tackle these issues through these alternative forms of connection. Also a bigger focus on any themes or topics related to joint finances, business, money that you share with a business partner or a romantic partner or both. There's definitely more of a focus there. Your partner could make more money. Like if you're in a romantic partnership, they could make more money, bring in more money. Perhaps there could be discussions around investing, reallocating funds, even inheritance. I mean, the eighth house rules inheritance. And Jupiter is the ruler of your fourth house. It's going to be in the eighth house. So you could like refinance your home or take out a loan, or if you've been, this is very niche, but waiting on like an insurance payout or something, that could happen. Something like that. And yeah, there could also be changes to how you deal with money with your business partner as well on that level. You could pay off debt, but be careful not to get into more debt. The eighth house does rule debt, and Jupiter expands. It's luck, and you can definitely feel more lucky or more fired up, at least Jupiter and Aries, to pay off debt. But there is an underlying, you could get into more debt, so just try not to do that. Yeah, you could like want to take out a loan to renovate or redecorate your home. Buying or selling property could be something that you start to look into. And the eighth house rules collaborating with other people, benefiting from their resources. And so you could enter into really beneficial partnerships. And you could initiate these partnerships too, because Jupiter is in Aries. So if there are people that you've been wanting to work with or collaborate with, make the move, because it could go more smoothly. That's what I mean when I say like knowing what Jupiter's doing in your chart so you could work with the energy. It's like, I know that this might go better now, so I'm going to do that. Like that is best. Astrology is so cool. So you made new connections while Jupiter was in your seventh house, and now those you could have made new relationships or connections while Jupiter was in your seventh, and now these relationships can blossom into a new form. These can be business relationships that sort of expand. These can be romantic or getting deeper within a romantic partnership. And expanded healing abilities for yourself and for others, especially if you work in a spiritual business, this could be a nice transit as well. One-on-one client work can increase because Jupiter rules your seventh house, which is associated with one-on-one client work, especially in spiritual business, holistic business, finance.
And something.
Yeah. And
it's a mystery.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, this is a lot of stuff already. And yeah, absolutely with Virgo. So let's get into Libra.
Okay.
People always love when Jupiter moves into their seventh house, especially if they're like looking for partnership. They think that like Prince Charming is going to ride up on his white horse or whatever they're looking for.
I know. I'll sometimes have people be like, Jupiter was in my seventh house and I didn't meet anyone romantic. I'm like, well, it doesn't happen every time. Maybe you made new friends, new business associate, but it can definitely, with Jupiter moving into your seventh house of partnership, there is an opportunity to expand and even expand within your existing partnerships, have those partnerships go better, more smoothly, and also meet new people. And it's the ruler of your third house, which is the very communicative house. It rules like our network and things like that, which is nice too. And so Jupiter in the seventh, it enhances focus on all of your close interpersonal relationships. And as I mentioned, these relationships can go more smoothly. You could birthing something new or bringing something forth in partnership. Yeah. Doing something new and exciting together with a romantic partner, entering into a new business relationship that is very beneficial. Jupiter in an angular house represents new beginnings. So, there can definitely be some of that happening, especially if you initiate, introduce yourself to people that you've been wanting to meet, sort of put yourself out there a little bit more. You could also assert your autonomy in your partnerships a little bit more strongly. Like, what do I need? As a Libra rising, sometimes, we can over focus on the other, and what they want and what they need. But with Jupiter moving into your Aries seventh house, you can definitely, it's like, yeah, what are my needs being met here? What do I want, need, and desire? How can I express that? Am I getting that in this partnership? Brings that up for sure. Speaking your needs, asserting yourself. While Jupiter was in Pisces, which it still is for a moment, and co-present with Neptune, it was in your sixth house. So you could have been overdoing it a little bit, overextending yourself for others. Sixth house is the house of service. It also rules our daily work experience. So it's like that overextending. And now that Jupiter's in Aries in the seventh, it's like, well, what do I want? Are my needs being met? There could also be opportunities via your network because Jupiter rules your third house of connection and communication, benefiting from networking with other people, expanding your reach for sure, continuing to widen your network, entering into very beneficial partnerships. While Jupiter was in Pisces in your sixth, you could have had a lot of really great ideas, creative problem solving, but not feeling like the momentum to carry them through wasn't there or it was fleeting. But now that Jupiter is moving into your seventh house in Aries, you're going to have, it's like you're going to hit the ground running and be able to take what you've learned, especially like creatively or like wanting to start new products, and you're going to have that momentum and drive to get them done. And I think, with Jupiter in the seventh, for a Libra rising, like other people can help you out so much. So rely on like your friends, on your network, on the people that you work with. It's a group effort. People are there that want to help you. So, and like working with other people, you can very much benefit in that way. It's a very self-starting and self-motivating energy too. So you can sort of light the fire, and then other people want to, it's really lit up and inspired and passionate. So people want to sort of like help you and work with you around this time as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And so Scorpio.
Rising, that's me.
That's me
So
too.
yeah, yes. So if you're a Scorpio rising, Jupiter is moving into your sixth house. It is the ruler of your second house of finance and the fifth house of hobbies and interests in romance. So with Jupiter moving into the sixth house, there is increased attention on your day-to-day work life, and also just like your daily routines as well. The pace could have slowed, and I definitely experienced this, or your energy could have waned while Jupiter was in Pisces in your fifth house, and now you could have had less work or less energy to like do the work that you needed to do. But now you can be, with Jupiter moving in the sixth, feeling a lot busier and have the motivation to get things done for sure. And money can increase due to your increased drive or output, because Jupiter does rule your second house of finance, of personal finance. You can initiate or re-engage with projects you feel really excited or passionate about, and people want to assist you. Jupiter in your fifth house, you could have had a lot of creative ideas. Again, like website stuff, or the fifth house is it's our creative output, and so there could have been a lot of creative ideas and a lot of dreams and visions for what you wanted to do, but its conjunction to Neptune can feel very nebulous, and it can feel like you have less energy. So you could have lacked the motivation or energy to take direct action on these creative ideas, on these like new projects that you wanted to do. But now you have the energy to do that. You have the confidence to assert yourself and take risks in business or finance. You could also start like a new exercise routine. You want to commit to like a new eating, giving up gluten or dairy or anything that'll make you feel better in your body, or start some sort of like very martial, like CrossFit or kickboxing. You could do that and stick to it as well. Being that the sixth house rules health and wellness. Oh, I wrote that: kickboxing, CrossFit, martial arts.
Yeah.
And try not to overcommit or overextend in your day. You can also, with Jupiter moving into your sixth house, there can be, this isn't for everyone, but the sixth house rules like unpaid labor and people that, and caretaking. And so people might need a lot from you, and definitely create that balance. You can find yourself sort of like making sure everybody else is okay when Jupiter's in your sixth house, but this time I feel like if that's a pattern for you, you can sort of understand that. And it is Aries, so you can assert like and set boundaries when you need to, with your work, with other people that want things from you. And I think that overall it's quite a nice energy for perhaps making more money on your creative. You could start like a side hustle as well. That could be something. And feeling busier at work for sure, and healthier.
Yeah. And I don't know if you noticed this for you, because you're also a Scorpio rising, but during the period where Jupiter was transiting Aries this year, things like work just got easier. Like it wasn't like, oh, I was so busy that's my normal state. If Mars and Aries in my sixth house, ruler of my ascendant, but like it was like everything was busy, but it was all flowing really nicely. So it was way less stressful, and it was just better, like overall just better. And so I'm personally looking forward to that energy again.
Yeah. I mean, I was really looking forward to Jupiter in Pisces. I have my sun, moon, and Mars all in Pisces. So I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. I felt so tired and like just very sapped, and work was slow. Yeah, it's just, and then when Jupiter was in Aries, the same. Things were busy, but it was sort of like a nice energy. I didn't feel overwhelmed. I felt very focused. So I've been looking forward to it too. I really have, especially when Jupiter is in Aries and Mars is direct by January. January.
That'll be nice. I
Yes.
am waiting for that.
So now we have Sagittarius rising. Jupiter's moving into your fifth house, which is excellent. It's the ruler of your chart, Jupiter, and your fourth house of home and family. So this is a very nice transit. Jupiter rules, the fifth house rules joy, creativity, self-expression, our children, passion, romance as well. What does my other teacher say? Creation and procreation. So all of those things. And so focus on these themes expand for sure. And while Jupiter was in Pisces in your fourth house, you could have been a bit more introspective, reflective, and solitary, because the fourth house is the house of home and family, and you could have just spent more time at home, you know. Not to say that that was a bad time, I'm sure it was nice, but now you can feel like you're ready to, the fifth house also rules like entertainment, like museums, art, you know, art galleries, concerts. You could just want to be sort of like out a little bit more. Yeah. And thinking very much about like what makes me happy, what brings me joy, what are my desires, irrespective of your family obligations too, you know, just sort of like taking charge of what lights you up and makes you feel inspired. Increase drive to follow your joy, engage in hobbies and interests and your inner child. And if you have children, like doing creative projects with them, feeling what your relationship with your children could just go more smoothly, especially if you've been like in the house, spending a lot of time and getting a bit overwhelmed by them. You could also have a baby more easily during this transit. And so if that's something that you want to do, for sure. But if not, it's nice to know that it's more, that you have more of an ability. You could also heal. It could be a big focus on like healing your inner child via play, or even childhood trauma through like creativity or play or relationship to your own kid, you know, for sure. Engaging in creative or artistic projects with your children, going to museums with or without kids. And you could also like spruce up different areas of your home, engage in home projects, like creative home projects. You could perhaps paint your walls or just, you know, change up the layout of certain areas or spaces in your home. And this would be a great time to relight the spark in a romantic partnership. Do something exciting, you know, if you're in a partnership and if it feels dull, or we could all use that, you know, whatever, taking your partner on a date or going somewhere you've never been before, that could feel fun, being silly and playful together. And if you're not dating, you know, your dating life can pick up for sure. Feeling more light and playful at home, making money off your hobbies could be something that that happens for you. And Jupiter will trine your ascendant at some point, and which is very positive, because it adds to this feeling of like inspiration and passion and expressive energy, and this it's very expansive. It's nice if you want to find out, you know, when exactly that's going to happen. But also it'll be in a sign-based trine the entire time, from your fifth house of joy to your first house of self. And it is your chart ruler. So I think this is a really nice, optimistic, inspired, hopeful time for you.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely. All right. And then Capricorn, we're almost to the zodiac here.
We are. I know I wrote a lot. But so we have Capricorn Rising. Jupiter's moving into your fourth house of home and family. And so there's an increased focus on home, family, property, even ancestry, you know, your roots. You can experience more ease and flow at home, with your family of work, like the family you create or your family of origin. There can be greater equilibrium in these relationships for sure. You can utilize any spiritual knowledge that you have and like wisdom in your relationship with your family members to sort of like just enhance that feeling of flow and, you know, having important conversations and things like that. You're expressing yourself more directly. Jupiter is in Aries and speaking your mind. You can do it in a more compassionate way, which is really nice. Jupiter does rule your third house of communication, spending more time at home, wanting to spend more time at home, wanting to spend more time alone. You could plan, being that Jupiter rules your third house of short trips. You could take a short trip with the family, spend more time with your parents, have them over more. You could even, you know, in some cases, like a parent could come live with you, or you'd have to take care of them in some way. But it's just more of a focus on your parents sometimes. For some people, you could expand. Jupiter's expansion, fourth house is family. You could expand your family, renovate, redecorate, beautify your space. You could declutter because Jupiter rules your 12th house, which is like shedding. You could declutter your space for sure. Feel drawn to give things away, feng shui. I don't think I spelled it right, but just sort of wanting to change up the layout of your home. Experience healing around family trauma, and even be drawn to explore your family lineage, like do 23andMe or something like that. You just feel like you want to sort of get to know your ancestry a little bit more. if you're a spiritual person, you could do an ancestor altar. That could be something that would be really beneficial too. An expansion of your inner world and connection to your emotions, for sure, because the fourth house is also, it's the lowest point in the sky when we were born. It represents the most private area of our life. And so you could be just feeling much more connected to yourself in that way, which is beautiful, I think.
Yeah, and that actually reminds me of a forecast I did with I think it was for Sagittarius rising with Jupiter going through Pisces. I just mentioned
Mhm.
something about like getting, genetic testing for your heritage and, something like that. And
Mhm.
so many people in the comment section were like, I just did the 23andMe and I just like looked at this and I found out
Wow.
that my heritage is over here. Like so many, like a weird number of people.
So
Like I
interesting.
said something so weird and specific, and everyone was like, "Oh yeah, I did that."
Wow. I think it was on my mind because I just bought them for my boyfriend.
Oh,
Yeah. Jupiter's
is
not
he
moving
a
in
is
my,
he a Capricorn rising or
he's a Capricorn sun,
okay?
and a
There
Virgo rising. But yeah, we don't know his nationality, so we want to know. He was adopted.
Oh, interesting. Well, that'll be
Mhm.
exciting.
So I was thinking about it, and I'm like, yeah, that would be a great thing to do while Jupiter's transiting the fourth.
Yeah.
Okay, so Aquarius rising, Jupiter is moving into your third house. It's the ruler of your second house of finance and your 11th house of friends and groups. And so this can definitely see you expanding your connection to your community, your neighborhood. The third house rules our neighborhood. You could spend more time with your neighbors or the people that live close to you, spending time with or getting to know your neighbors or your neighborhood or your town at a different level. Short trips could be something that you engage more in, being a tourist in your own city could be something that would be fun. I like to do that sometimes. More ease and flow in your communications with other people. You're expressing your needs in a direct and assertive way, but being that it's Jupiter, it can also be, it's not generally super over the top and in your face. You can really sort of like I believe that the third house, it has an association with our truth. And so you could really feel like you're expressing and connecting with your truth a little bit more clearly, understanding your beliefs and your needs more clearly. Well, Jupiter was in your second house in Pisces. You could have thought up new or innovative ways to make money. And now in your Aries third house, you can take these ideas to the people in your community, your friends, your colleagues, your business associates, and initiate new projects with help from the group. Jupiter also rules your 11th house of friendship and group connections, also the internet. You could put stuff out online and things like that, expanding your network. Lots of new introductions, many that you yourself initiate. Again, when Jupiter is in Aries, we want to take the lead. And so if there are people that you want to meet or emails that you want to write or people that you want to work with, even if it's a long shot, write that email. Opportunities coming in through friends could also financial second house opportunities coming in through friends. Ruler of the 11th house, that could be something as well. Expanding your presence on social media, or you could even like revamp or edit your LinkedIn or your website or something like that, like your presence, newsletter, your mailing list. You could start one or change it up in some way. Writing for work, for pleasure, journaling. Yeah, connecting with groups of people who share your mindset online or in real life. Spiritual groups, support groups. Maybe you'll start one, something like that. Yeah, and just this is another. I forget who else has a very relationship oriented transit coming up, but stay open to all new relationships, reach out, ask for help, and luck and opportunities come through others. For sure. I think it's harder for Aquarius rising sometimes to say, I need help or I want you to work with me. But yeah, just stay open, ask for help. It'll come through others, I would say.
All right. And then finally, Pisces, last but never least.
Never least. So Pisces rising, Jupiter's moving into your second house. That's excellent. It's the house of money. Jupiter is expansion. Centering the focus on your finances, expansion of more money could come in. That could be a very direct interpretation of this energy. There can also be a tendency to overspend or spend impulsively, being that, that could be something. So try to create balance there. But I think that this is a positive time for your relationship to your money, your relationship to what you value. And there could definitely be money that comes in, that you were expecting or that you weren't expecting. You could feel drawn to spend money on travel or education or just treating yourself. Also, because Jupiter's the ruler of your 10th house of career work projects that were initiated could start to bear fruit, or ideas that you had. There could be some traction that you get with certain projects that were initiated earlier in the year. Taking direct action regarding your finances, moving money around, investing, updating your savings plan could be something. It's sort of like with Jupiter and Aries in the second, it's like, I'm going to take charge of my finances right now. Like, what do I need? And I think that would be a good thing. You could also feel more lit up and inspired around making money at work, regarding your career. Money can come in easily. And you could just feel a greater sense of ease and flow. If you've been like worried about money or in a lack sort of consciousness, you could feel better. You could feel like there's a bit more ease in like how you think about money, for sure. I would say even like candle spells for money, like abundance spells using like the fire element, that would be really good too. Jupiter will be trying your midheaven at some point. This would be a great time to ask for a raise or to start an important work project or something like that, or just to feel good. Jupiter in the second house of money, like feel good regarding your job, or if you have to do something that if you want to like work on a project that you're excited about, but it's going to take a long time, doing something where you want that sort of like lit up and inspired energy with Jupiter trying your ascendant. Taking on a new educational pursuit that could make you more money in the long term, that could be something. And you could also invest in material possessions, beautifying your space, buying things that you really like. I think that this is a great energy for just feeling more connected, more abundant, more connected to your financial situation and growth and success at work, if that's what you want.
Yeah, absolutely. So take advantage of that, Pisces. That's always the one where people think like a giant pile of money is going to fall from the sky.
I know.
That's usually not what's going to happen, unfortunately. But I mean, things can get easier. So, I mean,
Definitely.
who doesn't want that?
Yeah. It is a nice, like Jupiter isn't like sometimes people overestimate, which is very Jupiterian, like what
Right.
Jupiter is for them. You know, it's not magic, but it does. And I feel like people definitely forget sometimes that like working with the energy is what makes it work the best for you. You can't
Yeah.
just like sit back and say, oh, where's my money? It's not
All right. Well, this is probably, I would say, one of the most comprehensive, or if not the most comprehensive video they're going to get on Jupiter and Aries on all of YouTube.
Yes, please enjoy it.
Yeah. So thank you so much for putting this all together. I know it was a lot of hard work on your part. And I know a lot of people are probably wondering now where they can find you. So where can they find you?
Okay, so I don't have a website, but I'm on Instagram, Zoflow Astro, Zoflow Astro, and same name on TikTok. And on both of those, there's a link to book me. Maybe we can put it down below
Yeah,
as
we'll
well.
put all your links down below. So
Yeah,
you
all my
can
links will be
find
down
Zoe at all the links down below.
below.
And definitely make sure you check out the Cosmic Academy of Astrology, get on the wait list for that. And I forgot to mention, we're doing a free astrology course. So we're doing our beginners astrology boot camp where you're going to learn all about the planets, the zodiac signs. There might even be a secret bonus about the houses. And so you're going to want to sign up for that if you're watching this in December when we're releasing it and recording it, and expand on your knowledge.
The Cosmic Academy of Astrology was truly the best course I've ever taken on astrology. I'm not just saying that. I really
Well,
mean it.
thank you. That means a lot because I know you take a lot of courses. Like you take your studies very seriously. So thank you. Well, thank you for being here. We'll have to do this again, and we'll definitely see you in the next one. So take care, everyone.